Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar, which is the fourth webinar in our co-production series. So today's session will be led by Leanne Wightman, who's the Head of Programmes and Impact at Disability Rights UK and also works as part of our Get Yourself Active team. So Leanne will be taking you through the benefits of co-production today and talking about why it is important to use co-production approaches as part of your work. So just to tell you a bit more about who we are, Disability Rights UK is a user-led pan-disability charity. We exist to build leadership and power amongst disabled people to create a movement for change. Our charitable objectives include breaking the link between disability and poverty and enabling disabled people to achieve independence and control over their own lives. The majority of our staff and trustees also have lived experience of disability. And Get Yourself Active is a programme funded by Sport England and led by Disability Rights UK. We work alongside disabled people to lead change in social care, health and sport sectors in order to improve health and wellbeing outcomes for disabled people. Co-production is a really important part of the work we do, and we are working closely with other disabled people's user-led organisations and the sports sector to embed co-production in practice, ensuring that the sports sector works effectively with disabled people to co-produce solutions to inactivity. So the webinar today is just one of the many topics we will be covering over the next couple of months. We are hosting a number of short webinars once a week covering a range of important topics, all to do with co-production. The aim of these sessions is to support more organisations in both the sports sector and disability sector to understand the basics of co-production, as well as sharing good practice on effectively embedding co-production in practice. So we are also recording these sessions and uploading them onto our website. So feel free to visit the website and view the timetable for the webinars, register onto sessions that you might be interested in, and you can also watch recorded sessions after they are live. I'll post the link in the chat. And just to let you know, as this is only a short session, we're not doing any Q&A, but if you do have any questions that come up during the session, feel free to email me and I'll get back to you. So I'll add my email address to the chat as well. So I'm going to stop talking now and pass over to Leanne, who's going to begin the session. And I hope you all enjoy learning about the benefits of co-production. So over to you, Leanne.
Thanks, Liddy. Hi, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join the webinar today on the benefits of co-production. So I just want to start by talking to you about just a couple of points that I want to flag to offer a bit of context while I'm talking you through the benefits of co-production. So firstly, I want to point out that the benefits of co-production are wide-ranging and complex. And this means that I'll just be kind of scratching the surface of the potential that co-production has to create ways for people to move more. Outcomes are interconnected and complex and reach across individuals, frontline practitioners and decision makers and the community. And this is just an introduction to what we see as the headline benefits. And there's much more to be done to drill down on the detail. But hopefully we can start to work with some of you on what that looks like for you and your organisation. Also, relating to this, due to the speediness of this session, we don't talk about the many positive outcomes resulting from physical activity itself because we just don't have time. But our endeavour here is to put it to you that co-production can be a significantly effective tool to meeting these outcomes. Keeping an open mind to different ways that you might approach co-production, as the benefits I'm going to discuss cover the breadth of the ladder of co-production, and this will feature in another speedy co-production webinar later on in the month. So to give you an example, you may be here because you want to work with people to overcome an issue to do with the activity itself, such as increasing take-up of a dance session or a walking group or football. Or you might be after a bigger, more organisational change and want to work with experts by experience to embed a positive culture and attitude towards disabled people across your workforce. We can't go into detail about that all the detail that you might want or need for these approaches, but I hope this sparks some ideas and further kind of stuff to ponder. Also, something to have in mind throughout the session is that I refer to people as people by and large, and that's because co-production is something that should benefit anyone from any demographic, protected characteristic, discipline, background, etc. And the danger with always imagining it as a process to support or help disabled people is that it can create an unwanted power imbalance before we even start. So co-production is not, it's not done to anyone, but it is for everyone. And finally, a lot of our insight on this comes from public services, particularly around social care and health. And so we want to give recognition to the fact that we need to build an evidence base in the physical activity sector on what works. And some examples that I give will tend to be hypothetical at this point, but we are working on building a bank of case studies of good practice, which will be shared via these webinars and on our website. So this is something that we are working on. Right, so next slide. So moving on swiftly and speedily, why should you use co-production approaches? Well, because the current public health crisis we face means that many people are experiencing further disadvantages when it comes to being active. Therefore, there is even more need than before to take a fresh look at ways to engage with disabled people and other inactive groups in a conversation about how to improve access to physical activity. And we need to gain access to the untapped expertise and knowledge in our local systems, which can help the sector understand the audience better. And co-production can really help us to do that. And also, and very importantly, working together makes us stronger. And it's worth the sometimes uncomfortable journey to get there. Co-production isn't easy, and we're going to cover a lot of that in the challenges of co-production next week, but I think it's worth kind of mentioning here. So I'm now going to talk you through the benefits for people who attend activities and use services. There's no point in dancing around the fact that we have a problem in our society around attitudes towards disabled people. And this is played out through an unfair and intolerant benefit system and disability pay gap, just to give a couple of examples. People and communities should be respected as experts in their own right, and the physical activity sector has an opportunity to play their part in creating a society whereby disabled people and other groups can have leadership and power to create their own futures. So co-production can enable this when we throw out any preconceptions or judgments about someone's ability to make a contribution. And kind of relating to this, effective co-production is based on the principle that people are assets, which you may have already heard about in the Principles of Co-production webinar, which was run by Evan O'Dell from Disability Rights UK. For some, it is a way to make good use of their time and give something back, to feel valued and useful as a member of the community. And valuing this time will really stand you in good stead. Assuming that disabled people, for example, don't have jobs or have lots of time on their hands to take part in co-production will potentially stunt the process and create barriers to involvement from the beginning. So that's really important around kind of that benefit, understanding that benefit to disabled people or people that you want to work with and co-produce with. When people's skills and strengths are valued, this creates confidence and self-belief. And never undervalue the positive impact that truly being listened to can have. It makes everyone feel good, and it means that you'll get more out of the relationship too, and it will build your confidence also. And also, and kind of finally on this, as well as building confidence, people can learn new skills and gain experience. And these include communication, relationship building, and team working skills. So, for example, you may feel that your service or activity could benefit young disabled people, but your attempts to get this group through the doors, as it were, in the current situation, have been unsuccessful. Engaging in an advisory group of young disabled people who are themselves looking for work experience and are passionate about enthusing others about physical activity will give you good insight and the insight that you need. And in return, you could write a reference or even support that young person to find a job within your organisation. So that's a really good example of how co-production can benefit people around job opportunities and skills. So now on to how co-production can benefit practitioners and service delivery. And firstly, it's important to reflect on the fact that understanding the lives of people can allow you to zoom out of your own role and gain important knowledge and insight into the lives of people you aim to support. So, for example, training on disability awareness or disability equality should be an important part of any role which involves working with disabled people. It therefore makes a lot of sense to build your knowledge through learning from people with lived experience. This could be in the form of formal training by a trained practitioner with lived experience, or at the very least, a training session which includes first-hand experiences of disability. And when it comes to having ideas and sharing perspectives, the Get Yourself Active evaluation of a really small co-production pilot we did showed that co-production processes provided disabled people's user-led organisations and physical activity providers with an opportunity to pool their respective expertise and address barriers to physical activity and participation, and therefore creating better knowledge and ideas amongst the group. Working with people with lived experience can help practitioners to think differently and identify new ways of doing things and questioning existing practices. Having confidence in your approach with backup from new partners in the community and experts by experience can lead to effective delivery. So leading with an open mind really, really helps this process. And this, again, was another key finding of that small co-production pilot that we did as part of Get Yourself Active. And we could probably send you the link to the evaluation if you need it. And of course, there's not huge amounts of evidence for this, but at the moment, but we really believe that well-executed co-production approaches will lead to better outcomes for the people you support, or your customers or your service users. And by engaging people and communities in the design, development and delivery of physical activity, you're leading with ideas of the outcomes that people actually want and not the outcomes you think they need. And this is something that we've all, as practitioners, kind of a trap that we've all fallen into before, myself included. So you can get a better sense of the real demand for an activity or service after unlocking relationships with a wider community of customers or service users. And when services and activities work for people, you build trust in your organisation and your brand, and they give good feedback and spread the word. And we know that people are much more likely to take up a new activity when they have heard about it from a friend or a trusted source. And we believe co-production is the best way to build this trust. And finally, in terms of the benefits for practitioners, co-production can support organisational decision-making process, whether that be at an operational level or more strategically. Sometimes when we need to engage with a group of users or customers, we want to engage with them to get to the root of an operational issue. Other times we need to draw on expertise from someone with lived experience and worked experience to make organisational and structural change. And one of the most challenging but beneficial things an organisation can do can be to embark on a cultural and structural change to ensure that their board, management and workforce are reflective of the community that they serve. This is what co-production is all about. And therefore, co-production can be considered as an option to help fulfil longer term organisational ambitions or strategies around inclusion. So on to finally talking to you about our perspectives on how co-production can benefit a wider community or a wider system. So stronger links with community groups and organisations can result in collaborative problem solving, as well as help you to realise the potential of these organisations and the people that run them. You may have heard us talk about the value of disabled people's user-led organisations that they can bring to a local system looking to tackle inactivity. It's well worth looking up your local DPULO if you haven't already, if you'd like to explore how co-production can benefit your work. Otherwise, you can get in touch with us and we can either put you in touch with the right organisation or we can talk some stuff through with you. And bringing more diversity to a decision-making process can lead to better connections, professional and social, actually, across demographics and disciplines and life experiences. And this in turn can lead to stronger, more diverse communities, better able to tackle a problem together. So really kind of thinking about how we collaborate can bring about really amazing change. And also co-production lends itself quite nicely to systems thinking and approaches, which also require a broader perspective and a focus on partnership and collaboration. If you ask someone why they don't want to use a gym at a local leisure centre, for instance, chances are that the answer won't just be about, you know, whether they want to be active or whether they want to move more or not, or if that's an issue. It will be about whether it fits in with their family life or their work routine, how they're going to get there. If they require support, who's going to help, who's going to support them? Do they have friends who go? Have they had a negative experience before now? These are all issues that we are all well aware of. But I think it's sometimes human nature to try and focus on the things that you want to hear more about. But listening intently to how they affect people on a daily basis and hearing the ideas and insights this perspective brings can be a powerful thing and lead to something interesting, some interesting and community-wide solutions. And finally, there's potential here to avoid unnecessary spending on stuff that doesn't work for people and perhaps even save public money. Again, there's not much evidence about these types of outcomes, but if you think logically about how co-production can lead to better, more efficient activities and services, and in turn more positive health outcomes, we know this can lead to a reduction in things like secondary health conditions, and therefore, you know, could lead to saving the public purse and money. Right, I'm going to stop now. That's all from me, everyone. I hope you found this whistle-stop tour of the benefits of co-production useful, and thanks for listening. And I'll hand you back over to Liddy.
Thank you, Leanne. That was really interesting and insightful session, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. As Leanne mentioned, taking part in co-production approaches is not always easy. And so the next webinar in this series is a good follow-up to this session, as it will look into some of the challenges, look into what some of the challenges will be in co-production and how you may be able to move past some of these. So this session will take place next Thursday at 11 and will be hosted by Anna Denham, who also works on our Get Yourself Active programme as part of DRUK. The registration links are available on our website, and the recorded session for today will also be available on the website for viewing shortly. I included the link to this in the chat. So we've also posted a guide on our website for co-producing physical activity during the coronavirus outbreak, which I've also posted a link to if that's of interest to you. And as well as this, we are looking for organisations that have some examples of good practice in co-production approaches or any case studies so that we can demonstrate co-production in practice. So if you have any examples that you would like to share or know any organisations that do, please let me know. This will be really, really useful. And when you exit, you should be sent to a page with a quick survey to complete. So it should take about 2 minutes. And we'll be really grateful, as this is going to be useful for developing and rolling out our co-production training in the future. So thanks again, everyone, for taking part, and we hope to see you again next week.